It was supposed to be a normal blind date. Awkward smiles, forced questions, maybe a polite goodbye. But tonight, the air in the small, cozy cafe felt painfully heavy, as if every silent second weighed 3 times more. Emma sat quietly, smoothing the crease on her simple lavender dress, mentally rehearsing lines that she had already forgotten the moment she saw him. Daniel looked nothing like the confident photos her friend had shown her. Instead, he looked tired. Not the long day at work tired, but the kind of tired that lives in someone's bones, the kind grief carves into a person. He fiddled with his coffee cup, unable to meet her eyes, shoulders tense, throat bobbing every few seconds as if he were swallowing words he didn't know how to say. And Emma, though nervous herself, sensed it immediately. This wasn't shyness. This was heartbreak wearing the coat of silence. She tried to speak about the weather, about work, anything to lighten the mood, but every attempt felt like throwing feathers at a brick wall. Daniel only nodded, voice barely a whisper when he spoke at all. Emma wondered if she had done something wrong, if she wasn't pretty enough, interesting enough, gentle enough. But that thought faded the moment the cafe door jingled and a tiny little girl with messy curls ran in, clutching a stuffed bunny and scanning the room until her eyes landed on Daniel. The transformation was instant. His stiff shoulders softened, his eyes glistened, and his breath caught. Emma saw love, ache, hope, and a silent apology all live in his expression at once. "Daddy!" The little girl squealed, and everything Emma had assumed about Daniel melted like snow in sunlight. He lifted her onto his lap, kissing her forehead with a tenderness that squeezed something inside Emma's chest. The girl turned, finally noticing Emma, and for a long heartbeat they simply stared at each other. Emma expected shyness, or confusion, but instead she saw recognition, strange and deep, as if this tiny stranger had been waiting for her. Daniel quickly introduced her. "This is Lily," his voice a little embarrassed, a little afraid, like he expected Emma to get up and walk out. Instead, Emma smiled softly, greeting the child with genuine warmth, and Lily's eyes widened as if stars had just appeared in them. There was an innocence there that could melt iron hearts, and Emma found herself leaning slightly forward, instinctively drawn to her. Daniel murmured something about the babysitter canceling, about being sorry, about never meaning to ruin the evening. But before Emma could reassure him, Lily slid her small hand across the table, rested it on Emma's fingers, and whispered with a hopeful, trembling voice, "Are you the one from Daddy's story?" Emma blinked, unsure she heard correctly, and Daniel froze, panic flickering across his face like a storm warning. Lily continued, "The girl in the story who makes Daddy smile again? The one who holds my hand and stays?" Emma's breath hitched. Daniel's did too, only his was filled with fear. And in that single moment, silence didn't feel awkward anymore. It felt sacred, like the universe had just taken a breath. Daniel tried to laugh it off, voice strained as he whispered Lily's name like a plea. But Lily wasn't finished. She climbed off his lap and walked with determined tiny steps toward Emma, her stuffed bunny dragging on the floor behind her like a loyal witness to her courage. She touched Emma's arm gently, looking up with the kind of innocence that makes even the most broken souls remember hope. "Daddy reads me stories," she said softly, "about a lady who comes and helps us smile again. Daddy says Mommy watches from the stars and will send someone kind when it's time." Emma felt her eyes sting, and Daniel looked like someone had ripped open a wound he had just barely stitched shut. He reached for his daughter, voice rough, "Lily, sweetheart, that's just a bedtime story." But Lily only shook her head, curls bouncing, determination fierce. "Mommy told me in my dream. She said Daddy's heart is heavy, but a lady with kind eyes will help carry it." Emma's breath trembled, and Daniel's jaw clenched as his eyes glistened. Every emotion raw, exposed, fighting to stay contained. He whispered, "I'm so sorry." But Emma wasn't sure if the apology was for her or for all the broken pieces in his life he was afraid she would see. Before Emma could speak, Lily took her hand fully this time, small, warm, trusting, and asked the question that tore the evening open. "Are you my new mommy?" Everything inside Emma stilled. The cafe noise faded. Even time seemed to pause out of respect for the fragile world trembling between them. Daniel exhaled sharply, face pale, eyes wide with helplessness. He tried to interrupt, voice cracking. "Lily, honey, that's not how this works." But Lily held Emma's gaze, searching it with the painful honesty only a child can bear. Emma wasn't a mother. She wasn't even sure she knew how to be one. She came tonight hoping for companionship, not destiny. But fate didn't ask for permission. It simply arrived. Emma felt something pull inside her, something ancient and unexplainable, as if her heart recognized this little soul before her mind could catch up. Finally, she knelt beside Lily, gently brushing a curl from her cheek. "I don't know yet, sweetheart," she whispered, voice trembling but sincere. "But I'd love to be your friend first." Lily smiled, hope unbroken, unshaken, as if friendship was merely the first chapter of a story she already believed in. Daniel watched. Them. The woman he barely knew and the daughter he would give his life for holding, hands like they had always belonged in the same moment. Fear twisted inside him like a storm. He wanted to protect Lily, protect Emma, protect himself from the dangerous thing rising in his chest. Hope. Hope was sharp when you had lost before. It didn't float. It cut. He cleared his throat, trying to regain control, but his voice betrayed him. "Emma, I'm sorry. You didn't sign up for this." His words were rough, like he had swallowed broken glass. Emma turned her head slowly, still kneeling beside Lily, and looked up at him, not with pity but warmth so steady it felt like sunlight landing on cold skin. "I didn't expect tonight to go like this," she admitted with a soft smile. "But I don't think either of you did either." Daniel laughed weakly, rubbing the back of his neck as if trying to keep himself from falling apart. "Her mom passed when she was 2, he said quietly, voice trembling on the edges, "and I've been telling her stories. Stories to help her sleep. Stories to make it hurt less. I never thought she'd tie them to real people." His eyes landed on Emma again, vulnerable, almost afraid to hope she wouldn't walk away. And in that rawness, Emma saw not a broken man, but a father trying to build a world out of dust because his daughter deserved magic. The cafe around them went on, cups clinking, spoons stirring, quiet laughter from distant tables. But their world stayed small, held in the space between a grieving father, a brave little girl, and a woman who suddenly felt like her life had led her to this strange moment for a reason she couldn't yet understand. Lily climbed back into her chair, swinging her legs and humming softly while hugging her stuffed bunny. Daniel leaned forward, elbows on the table, and let out a sigh heavy enough to bruise the air. "I've scared you, haven't I?" he murmured. Emma shook her head gently. "You haven't scared me," she whispered. "You've shown me something real." He blinked at her, shocked by the sincerity, as if he expected judgment instead of grace. "I don't date," he admitted. "I barely sleep. I make mistakes every single day trying to be both parents. And sometimes I feel like the world moved on, and I'm still trying to breathe for someone who isn't here anymore." His voice cracked on the last words, and Emma felt her heart break, not from sorrow, but from admiration, because loving that deeply wasn't weakness. It was strength forged in pain. Lily looked up and patted his hand, whispering, "Daddy cries quietly so angels don't get worried." Emma's throat closed. There are moments in life where a soul reveals itself. Tonight, 2 had. Emma reached across the table, hesitant at first, then steady, placing her hand over Daniel's. He didn't pull away. He froze, like someone who had forgotten what comfort felt like. "You don't have to carry everything alone," she said softly. "Even the strongest hearts get tired." Daniel looked down at their hands, hers small and warm over his rough and tense as if still bracing for heartbreak. "What if I fail again?" he whispered, voice so fragile it barely existed. Emma shook her head. The silence that followed was empty. It was thick with unsaid pray across, and placed her tiny hand on top of theirs, forming a stack of hands, small, soft, trembling, human. "Mommy said real love doesn't break," she whispered, as if sharing a sacred secret. Daniel closed his eyes, a tear escaping despite his attempt to hold the world together. Emma didn't wipe it. She didn't need to. Sometimes witnessing someone's tears is the kindest touch. Ori's, offering Emma stickers from her little pocketbook, each sticker crookedly placed on Emma's wrist like a badge of acceptance. When the evening finally began winding down, Daniel stood slowly, picking Lily up as she leaned sleepily on his shoulder. "Thank you," he murmured. It was a simple phrase, but it carried weight like a promise. Emma stood too, gathering her purse, feeling a strange ache, like leaving something unfinished even though she didn't know its ending. Lily lifted her head and sleepily whispered, "Don't disappear." Emma pressed a kiss on her forehead before thinking twice, instinct overpowering hesitation. "I'll see you again," she promised. And she meant it, even though the future still felt like a page waiting for ink.